So at the end of the last episode, kind of intertwined with that discussion on Yammer, Grant brought up a band called Black Midi. So after we finished recording that episode, we kind of decided that we should probably go and give their album Schlagenheim, their debut album, a listen, considering we were kind of talking them down and hadn't really given them a chance. We'd sort of skimmed over a couple of the tracks from the start of the album, and so there was a comparison we made, or at least there was a little bit of a discussion there, so we decided it was worth going back and actually giving them a chance.
Yeah.
So do you want to, who or what are Black Midi?
So they're a band that's getting a considerable amount of traction from the likes of the NME. They're being hailed as certainly getting a lot of media attention.
There's one quote I heard somewhere, I don't know where this came from, I just remember hearing it, was the saviours of rock and roll.
Yeah, I think, did we not say that last time?
We might have done, but I can't remember
themselves.
I'm not sure who I can attach that to because I couldn't find it, but I know I'd heard that somewhere. Maybe it was me, I don't know. I changed my mind.
Yeah, last time we were kind of talking about them, we kind of briefly watched a couple of their music videos, Doctor in particular, which I think has been played on Radio 1. I think it's their only song, certainly at the time, that's kind of got any kind of radio play, and we looked at a few articles where their debut album was discussed. I think they are quoted in saying that they would rather be terrible, or thought of as being terrible, as opposed to being kind of middle of the road.
Which is a fair point. Like, yeah, would you rather be remembered for being, or rather not be remembered than be remembered as being shit? Like, I don't know. Maybe you want to make a mark in some way, whether it's positive or negative. I'm surprised that anything from this album actually gets radio play, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, as far as I'm aware, that's the only song that's had any media play at the moment, or certainly at the time when we were kind of talking about them. I don't know if they've since went on to kind of play more of their tracks. I've heard commentators or read commentators saying that it's frustrating. They're certainly opinion dividing, and I have to admit, I was determined to hate them.
So was I, yeah.
After listening to the first track, I was determined that I was going to hate them, but I have to admit I was quite pleasantly surprised by some of the tracks on there. However, I will agree with some commentators to say I did find it frustrating listening to it at times, because there's elements in that album that are absolutely fantastic, and bits that I really, really enjoyed. However, you'd kind of be getting into the groove, getting into the beat of a song, enjoying the song, and then the song would take a completely different direction, and it would kind of just I wouldn't say ruin it, because that's a bit of a strong
you kind of wish that some of these moments lasted longer or formed a song, because some of the moments on here you get into a groove, and that groove itself could be a song, but they just kind of deviate away from it for a good portion of the song, and then they maybe bring it back in the end.
Maybe return, but not necessarily for all of the songs. Yeah. It's almost like this is a portfolio of the stuff that they can do. I think technically they're probably really good artists, really good, really quite accomplished musicians. It kind of felt as if they had a canvas. I'm just using it as a metaphor. They had a canvas and just chucked everything they could at it, and hoping that something would stick.
Yeah,
some of it stuck, some of it's good. One track in particular that I really, really enjoyed, and in my notes I've actually said, more of this please. More of this please, Mr. Black Midi, is Near DTMI, which is the fourth song on the album. You kind of hit the ground running with that kind of, I've described them as kind of math rock, pop punk sound.
Yeah.
There was times, not necessarily in this song, but throughout the course of the album as a whole, where I was kind of reminded briefly of the likes of kind of Dan and Aykroyd.
Yeah.
And then you kind of get a reprieve of that kind of math rock pop punk sound, like I said, when the kind of vocals come in, and then it kind of builds. There's a bit of a slow burn to about the kind of 1:30 mark, and then it just becomes what I've written. It builds to something that's truly fucking fantastic. it's just great, like where the kind of vocalist is just screaming the lyrics. I think it just kind of accumulates into something that's absolutely brilliant. I really kind of fed into that, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've highlighted that as a sort of big moment where he's just screaming these lyrics where he says, "I'm alive and I can see the water is foul and it's hard to breathe. There's lead in the water. There's lead in the water." And he just screams that with so much venom.
Great, though.
And I don't really know what he's talking about, but no. But there's a sort of there's an industrial tone to the lyrics about building structures and things on like derelict land and things like that. So,
but then again, the song just takes a completely different direction, just at the kind of 1:49 mark, and then it's just this kind of frenzied, manic keyboard type sound.
Yeah, I've just said it kind of just goes completely off the rails.
Yeah,
and there's like a totally bonkers synth line, keyboard synth
Yeah.
line. Yeah, there's a lot of things like that on here where they just kind of completely change direction with no warning, and you know, with no real relation to what happened previously in the song.
I still admit the first song, I mean, I can't quite remember how long the first song is, but it's tough going. Like, you know, as I said, technically it might be quite impressive, but aesthetically, in terms of kind of your listening pleasure, it's a tough listen. I mean, there are some reprieves from that kind of grueling, kind of punishing opening riff, but it is difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the song that, you know, previously made me want to turn off.
That's the song that made me previously want to turn off as well, but I kind of got into the groove of it a bit more, because that opening...
Did you have a seizure?
I didn't have a seizure, no, but that opening sort of, it's like a sort of spiralling, jagged riff. I quite like the groove of that, and I'm quite disappointed when that stops and it sort of deflates with this weird breakdown, but then it comes back, and it keeps coming back throughout the song, and it's maybe the vocals put me off initially. They're a bit like a sort of more demented kind of alt J.
Yeah, I think that's quite an apt comparison, because I think when we were talking about them previously, when we were trying to compare them to other artists, I think we had compared them to Alt J, and just like Alt J, when I first heard Alt J, I couldn't get into them at all. However, I remember seeing them live and absolutely fell in love with them. I just got a spare ticket from our mutual mate McGuinness, and they're absolutely fantastic.
So I mean, Black Midi may be similar, and there may be a band that your appreciation might go upwards if you see them live.
I think so. I mean, I think there's a lot of things about this band that, you know, is off-putting. You know, we've mentioned the opening track. We've, you know, just like Yammerer, you know, we've made that comparison before. Kind of they buck the trend on the kind of traditional song structures, quite abstract, quite avant-garde. I think the guy's vocals in particular is sometimes quite difficult to tune into. However, I think he does some quite interesting things with his voice. I mean, I think he uses it very deliberately.
Yeah, it's a deliberate style.
Yeah.
There's those vocals, and then there's a more normal, clean vocal, and I think they're two different singers. Certainly the sort of alt J kind of deliberately weird style of singing, that's one guy, and there's another type of much more normal, clean singing. It's often just solely on a track. So the first track you've got the weird singing, and the next track you've got normal singing.
Yeah.
And it, you know, there's a bit of a back and forth there.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, with regards to the guy's vocals in particular, the seventh song on the album, BM, there really isn't all that much to that at all. It just kind of opens up with this kind of dirty, kind of bass line, a wee bit of kind of incomprehensible rather, kind of chatter going on. But, you know, for the most part, the lyrics are pretty much just, she walks with a purpose. But he uses he uses voice as an instrument. Like, you know, the way he kind of pronounces the words is, as you said, quite deliberate. Makes some interesting sounds at times.
Yeah, and I first saw that song, so I'm going to call Boom Boom Boom.
Oh, right, yeah.
I don't know.
Boom Boom.
But I don't know if...
I just thought maybe... Is it
BM or Boom Boom Boom?
BM.
Exactly.
Might just be Black Midi.
Yeah,
maybe.
Probably
Most
is.
likely.
I'm going to call it Boom Boom Boom.
Let's go Boom Boom Boom.
So, first time I heard Boom Boom Boom, it's genuinely like, what the fuck is this? because it's just the way he sings and the fact he's just going, she moves with a purpose, and just repeats that over and over
That's
again.
it.
And it's like a very, very
Like,
brilliant purpose and all this. But he warps and bends the way he says it.
Yeah, I mean,
in
it's
many different ways. But actually, the more I've listened to it, I really, really love it, because that bass line and like sort of marching band like drum rattles that open it it's just wonderful to listen to.
I found myself like shuffling along to it, like nodding my head and really quite enjoying it.
And it's that simple bass line and drums and the vocals, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
But there's like a creepy undertone of like a woman screaming in the background.
Yeah, saying an odd thing here and there. Yeah.
And it's
But you can't
pretty
really
much
make
inaudible.
any of it out. Yeah.
But it just adds a sort of creepy kind of... I mean, I've written down, is this some serial killer shit? Because it's almost like someone's like, he's watching like this person
kind of stalking them.
and like, oh, she moves with purpose. And,
What a
like,
fantastic
and I mean, I
part.
could be completely getting it wrong, but I just get that really sort of creepy vibe from it. But definitely the that bass and drums. In fact, the bass and the drums on the whole album really stand out. The bass has always got a grunt to it, or like a drive to it, and the drums are always really complex and lots of things going on, and they're just kind of a fascinating listen to see where the drums are going to go next. And definitely if that's your bag, then you're definitely going to get something out of this. I wanted to mention of Schlagenheim because there's a sort of scattergun electronic that comes in after the first minute that it's like crack to my brain. It's just the way that comes in, and then it's like a squealing guitar line that comes in, and they sort of mingle together, and annoyingly it goes away, and they abandon it, but I'm just like, that is what I want. I want you to keep doing that, and they just abandon it. This is actually this song. I do quite like this song. The rest of it, there's a song that we were listening to before, and it just devolves into absolute nonsensical screaming. And I think I'd listened to it and I was like, this is just like Volva from Spaced. So if anyone's seen Spaced and you've listened to the end of the podcast, there's a little sample from one of the episodes with a character called Volva, which is played by David Williams, and he's like what would you call him? An artist of sorts. A performance artist. And he sort of jumps around the stage howling and screaming, and that, that's completely for comic value. It's a pastiche of, something that exists, and this is almost, I've said it's Volva-esque. It's almost exactly that, and it's like, I mean, I suppose this is a pastiche as well in ways. I think it's that show. I mean, is that a serious thing, or is it just a sense of humour that they're showing?
I don't know. I think they intend to be taken seriously.
I mean, is this album them being serious artists?
I think so. That my gut feeling is I mean, you could be forgiven for thinking that, like, because I did. Like, I think, say if these guys came on a pub or a music venue, kind of battle of the bands type thing, you'd probably laugh them off the stage and say, look at these cunts.
If the first track 953 came on and that riff came on, people would be chucking their pints at the jukebox.
Like the artist, I mean, the artist sounds pretentious. Like his vocal, the kind of alt-J-esque singer, as we said, kind of the thing that there's maybe two singers in the band. The alt-J-esque singer, he sounds pretentious as fuck. You can't get around that, and I think that in itself might be off-putting for some listeners. Yeah,
this is definitely...
But I think they tend to be taken seriously. I don't think it's a pastiche by any stretch of the imagination.
It's definitely an album that a lot of people are, definitely opinion divided. A lot of people are just going to hate this immediately, and we listened to a couple of tracks and we both were like, I can't listen to this. I don't want to listen to this. And then it was only just for the purpose of being fair, having sort of...
And since we mentioned them...
Yeah, having mentioned them and sort of, talking shit about them a little bit without having given them the time, we felt kind of like we should go back to it. And actually, like you said earlier, it's kind of a welcome surprise that there's a lot more to love about this than first kind of appears. So yeah, I quite enjoyed this actually.
Mm-hmm.
Fully expecting to absolutely hate it. Are there any other standout moments you want to talk about?
Not particularly. I would agree with you. You kind of mentioned the rhythm section, the bass in particular. That's something that I've picked out time and time again.
It's definitely what I've got the most out of this.
You've kind of mentioned of Schlagenheim. I kind of described that as almost being like kind of 3 different songs. Again, in my notes I've made kind of reference to the bass line, kind of seriously fat, spelled P-H-A-A-T, bass line at the kind of 4:48 mark. Again, quite groovy. Same with Doctor. There's a really kind of groovy bass line to that as well, which I really enjoyed. That's the album. That's the song that we mentioned earlier on that I believe had radio play, the most radio friendly song from the album.
That vulva-esque vocal delivery comes back at the end of Doctor.
Yes, aye.
So it's kind of like there must be a radio edit of this song,
because it is 6.
Yeah,
minutes.
it's a long
It's
song.
just under 7 minutes long.
But it's a pretty cool song. Sort of, it feels like you're out in the ether somewhere.
Yeah,
but very bizarre. Cool. How would you rate Schlagenheim by Black Midi?
I was wondering that when I was kind of writing the notes. I mean,
I'm a little bit torn.
Yeah, well, when we've rated albums in the past, it's a bit more straightforward. As I said, at the start when we first started discussing the album, there's elements of it that I really quite enjoyed. However, overall, I found it quite frustrating to listen to. You kind of want them just to stick to one riff or stick to one genre, as it were, for the duration of the song. I probably would give them. I'm reluctant to give them anything less than a 5.
It's definitely not less than a 5.
But
I think if you're giving something under 5, you don't like it.
Yeah.
Definitely don't like it.
I'm tempted to say 6. I wouldn't give them much more than that.
I would give them a 7, but I do think that if you spend more time with this album, you're going to get a lot more enjoyment out of it. And I think if I continue to listen to this, I think it could just get right into my skin and I could end up really loving it. But where I am at the moment, I just quite like it.
Yeah.
Which I think is a 7.
I think that's consistent with how you've rated albums in the past.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it is. I like this more than I like Black Mountain.
Yes, aye.
And I think I said a 7 and then reduced it to a 6 for Black Mountain. So I think that is consistent. And I do think that I could end up liking this even more, but I'm gonna hold back a little bit.
Aye, fair enough.
So I don't think we're too far off.
No, I mean it'd be interesting to see what they do in the future. Is it worth mentioning that this band, Black Midi, have kind of got quite a lot of traction, kind of media outlets, and from music journalists, and I think their live shows they haven't necessarily played the songs as they appear in the album.
No, I think this is like they've taken their live thing and then they've layered stuff. I think they say we've added things to this that we couldn't necessarily do live. So the live show might be a more stripped back. It'll sound more like a jam session. Yeah, potentially live, which I think was part of our criticism of it on first listen, was that it sounded,
first song in particular,
it just sounded like they were jamming and not really, and like you said, just seeing what's stuck.
Yeah, that's
and not really having any particular direction. But when you actually get into the album and listen to it a bit more deeply, there does feel like there is some form of direction as a whole, because the songs often they start somewhere and they end somewhere similar. They do a sort of a loop. Not always, but and some of the things are so complex. You're kind of like, well, how could they possibly have just improvised that? I mean, there will be things that are just improvisation, and then they've just, because I think they recorded this in like 5 days, so they've done it all pretty quickly.
See, I wonder, because I'm not a musician.
No, like me neither.
And I do wonder whether, on paper, it's technically brilliant, if that makes sense. But in terms of kind of aesthetics, kind of listening pleasure, some of it can be quite harsh. Like,
yeah, if you're a casual listener of music,
probably
stay clear of Black Midi.
Yes,
if you want something a bit more complicated and something that you might have to try to enjoy, sounds kind of pretentious.
Yeah, I was going to say work, but you don't. You shouldn't this, and that's the thing. For it to be good, should it be immediately accessible?
I think there's room for
something
for more than just music that's immediate. There's it's such a broad medium that there's room for all sorts of kinds of music, and if there's something that you have to work at to enjoy, I mean, often that's a better experience than something you just immediately like and maybe put away and move on to the next thing.
Maybe short-lived. Yeah.
So there's certainly plenty to talk about, and it's worth listening to them just to see what all the fuss is about. And the problem with media hype of bands is that there's often no substance, and it's just hype for hype's sake. Somebody's decided, we're going to put this band up on a pedestal regardless of artistic integrity, exactly, and they'll just get the push. And then something like this comes along, which from the beginning sounds stupid and weird, and the music industry are pushing it up. You think, well, I'm not going to pay attention to this nonsense.
Yeah, because stuff like that immediately gets my hackles up.
As soon as the music media are promoting a band massively and saying they're the best new thing, it immediately turns you off.
Way to fuck.
And so I think there was a bit of that happening.
Aye.
So like I said, pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so that was Schlagenheim, the debut album from Black Midi.